Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Paranormal Paradigm podcast. And you guessed it, you can see us, so it is a VodCast. VodCast. And this is VodCast part 2, I guess. So we're going to continue the conversation we had in episode 8.
Was it episode 8?
Maybe.
We're going to continue what we were saying in part 1.
Yeah, whenever that was. When we were discussing our experiences of investigations that we've done previously.
Yep.
Again, if you can see us keep looking down, it's because that's where our notes are. Now this is going to be released about Christmas, so Merry Christmas to everyone. This is my glass
Cheers.
of Advocaat. Ben doesn't like it, and I did have sherry, but I've drank it all, so it's just Advocaat. Sorry. It's very nice. So cheers and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas everyone.
So, on with the show.
Let's kick it off.
So yeah, Ben, do you want to kick off with Electric Club?
Yeah, so the Electric Club. Now this is a club in Wolverhampton. We've been there a fair few times now.
Half a dozen, I'd say.
Yeah,
at least. It's kind of our base. It's the base for our for the group that we investigate with. Yeah. Every group has a base, and this is ours.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because there's always some sort of activity there, but it never really seems to be the same twice.
No,
I find.
No, you're right though, and it always seems like there is activity, but it's always just bubbling.
Yeah.
Some places you go to and it really kicks off.
Yeah.
And some places you go to and it's dead. But this place, it's always on the verge.
Mm.
You think, if I'd have stayed an hour more, maybe we'd have got something better.
Yeah.
But you can't do that because you'd just be there for...
But the good thing is, because it's like where we're based, kind of like our hub, we've sort of got unlimited time there. So we tend to be there till, the nice early hours of the morning. Yeah,
but the other reason we're there that late is because, the downside to investigating places like this is it's a fully functioning social club. Yeah. So they will have parties and discos.
Yeah, you've got to wait for them to kick everyone out. Yeah. And
so we tend to go down to the cellar while they're still partying till about 12, half 12 before they all get kicked out. And we
it throws up some questionable things, doesn't it? Because if there's people above you, you've got to always second guess
what you're hearing,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we often like to let a place settle. We'll go there, and if it's been busy throughout the day, we like to just let it settle before we go on, because obviously floorboards creak, buildings, pipes bang and clang, and you need that to settle really. Otherwise, you're going to hear things that you might think is paranormal, but it just isn't.
Yeah, it's just the heating.
It's just the heating, and the thing is with this place is, as soon as these people go, you've got to start investigating because it's already late. Mm-hmm. So you never really have that time to let it settle, which I think maybe is why we, just as we're about to go, that's when it all starts really kicking off, because that's probably about the time it takes to settle.
Yes.
So the cellar.
The cellar's always a good place to start there. We've had multiple things happening in the cellar, and the good thing is we have a camera set up, an infrared camera, that when we're in our hub room, where we go and have a break and have a snack and all that sort of thing, we can watch on a projector what's happening down in the cellar. Not on the TV, it's not even a projector, it's just the TV, isn't it? Yeah. So we can watch what's happening down in the cellar, and you do see things when you're just looking at the TV. You see orbs moving. You can... there's been a shadow that we've seen down there that seems to
always in that one corner.
Always in the same corner. It seems to sort of grow, and then it'll stop, and then it'll go back in on itself. Yeah. And there's nothing down there that's moving, because it's it's just a cellar. There's only one way in and one way out. Yeah.
The cellar is gets quite tight. It's quite a squeeze.
Yeah, it's not very big at all.
And this thing Ben's talking about, we've had a lot of people who have told us that it's a man. It seems to be quite a tall, hunched over man, in a cloak. He's not a very nice man, and we've also been made aware that there's possibly a small lady down there, and there's this kind of battle between these two, and the lady tells this man to back off when he gets a bit too close to the people that are down there, and the man pushes his luck really. Yeah,
it's almost like the lady there is trying to protect people from him.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now there's a little dip down there. It's basically where it looks like the floor's given way, and the floor's cracked. It's like concrete really, and it's cracked. We often get people to stand in there, and it has quite a funny effect on people, doesn't it? Because people begin to see the person that stood in there. They tend to. It looks like they've changed. Features and I remember looking at it was a lady that was stood in there, and she seemed to shrink by about 2 foot, and I could have swore she was looking right at me. And when I asked her, I put the torch on, she wasn't, and she was facing the other way. But it was the weirdest illusion. How much of that is, and
I mean, I know you say that she seemed to shrink by about 2 foot, and as you said earlier, there is a dip in the ground, but it's probably 4 inches max,
if that,
where it's gone in a bit. So you're not stepping down into anything. Yeah,
it's not a hole; it is just a dip. But I'm always cautious when you think, oh, it looks like they've changed. It's a bit like scrying in a mirror.
Yeah.
If you look at something long enough, you will begin to see changes with the shadows being cast, and there is a bit of light down there and stuff. So you have to be careful of that. The best thing we had down in the cellar, in my opinion, is an EVP, and it was an EVP of what sounded like a small child. So we were down there, and everybody's phone was on flight mode. It was about 1:30 in the morning, and we're in a cellar. So bad signal, phone's on flight mode. Who's calling you at 1:30? So someone's phone rang, and of course our first instinct was, come on, it should be on flight mode.
Yeah.
They pull it out. It is on flight mode. It's a private number, and we're thinking, well, who's this then? So she doesn't answer. About a minute or so later, someone else's phone rings. Same again. Pull it out. I thought, whoever wanted to contact that person is now contacting their friend to see if they can talk to them. Turns out these people didn't know each other, so that wouldn't have been the case. Private number, phone's on flight mode. She hangs up. About a minute later, it happens again. And at this point, we're all like, just answer the damn phone. So they answer the phone, and it automatically goes on to speaker mode, which I've never known a phone do. And it sounded in the broadest black country accent, like a child saying, I really want to go home now.
Yeah.
Or, I really want to go home now. And that's what we heard. Some said it was a boy, some said it was a girl.
Yeah.
I think it was a boy. But we all heard it clear as day, crystal clear. And it was very creepy. And we had a photo down there that looked like 3 children were sat on the back ledge.
Yes,
you could see their legs hanging over the ledge, which lends itself to this child being down there. And we found out that there are children buried in the vicinity that would have died during things like the plague and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's in an area called Chapel Ash, and that's where a lot of bodies were buried or cremated.
Yeah. And that area dates back.
Oh, yeah, years. I think it might even be in the Doomsday. That area.
It's a long
history.
time.
A lot of history. So the cellar is. Whenever we go there, that's my. If you can hear that, that's some poison dart frogs that I've got. So if you can hear them calling.
Yeah.
I was saying to you, Ben, that they are loud.
Yeah, they are loud.
That is loud and long. That's his 2 pence worth. Might happen again, I apologise. But yeah, if we're going, I know me and Ben, we're like, yes, straight down the cellar. That's the first thing we want to do. And like Ben says, what we often have is we split the team or the group, and some will sit upstairs in the hub and they watch on the screen the camera.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to even, you just sat up there eating a bag of crisps, watching these people in the cellar, because some of them, they react. They might do that, or they, and you think, what are they doing? And we often have a walkie-talkie, so we'll say, what's wrong with that person there? And they'll say, I just felt something in front of my face. And you can see them react to it. And quite often you'll see what looks like an orb or a mist or a shadow goes in front of someone, and they react to it. And it's quite interesting to see that, because when you're down there in the dark, you can't really see the reactions of other people.
It's also good, because it's infrared, that you can see if anyone would be playing anyone up as well.
Yeah.
Because it's dark down there, if someone put their arm behind someone and tap them on the shoulder or something, you'd be able to see it on the screen and be like, tell them to stop it.
Yeah, so we know, it helps us keep an eye on that kind of thing as well. I remember when we had footsteps upstairs, we were setting stuff up, so they've got a function room upstairs, and we were setting some stuff up, things like Stickman and stuff like that, and there's a big wooden dance floor, so you can clearly hear people walk over it, and we got our back to the dance floor setting it up, and we heard someone walk into the room. So straight away turned round to see if everything was okay. Nobody there. But clear as day again, we heard footsteps. What else has happened there? Looking at our notes.
There's been so much there.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about that experience where the girls felt they couldn't?
Oh, right, okay. So, again, upstairs on this dance floor area, this was one of the first times we were there, and we were the group that was made up I think the majority of them was girls at the time, women.
You know, this is going to sound quite, I don't know, stereotypical, but most people that do come on ghost hunts are women.
Yes,
they are females.
Yeah.
You watch like a psychic program, or it's always women. I don't know why. It's nothing against them. It's just an interesting statistic.
I think thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
I think men.
I think men are just a bit more sceptical. And just
like,
not bothered.
And they spend their Friday, Saturday nights in the pub.
Yeah, true. Rather than hunting spirits.
Yeah. Drinking them instead.
Yeah. So this was back, like I say, one of the first times we were there. And again, a group of us, majority of them were women, upstairs where this dance floor was. And we found that a lot of people were stood sort of around the edge of the dance floor. And there was only a handful of people that were on the dance floor that were just walking around, seeing what they could see, feel, all that sort of thing. And afterwards, I think one of them said, didn't they? I feel like.
Well, we asked them. There was out of the people on the dance floor, one was a girl.
Yes.
Was your missus?
No, she was stood at the side.
Was she?
Yeah.
I'm sure I could have swore it was Amy. But the one girl on the dance floor said she felt like she shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
She said, I feel like people are watching me.
Yes. Yeah.
And the people on the side said, oh no, we feel fine.
Mhm.
And then, and then.
But then when she moved to the side, she was like, oh yeah, I feel okay again now. I don't feel like I'm being judged or watched.
Yeah, judged. That was it. Yeah. Yeah. Tell them.
So it turns out that area in the building used to be a viewing gallery that overlooked, was it squash courts?
Squash courts, I think. Yeah.
And women weren't allowed to go and use the squash courts. They were only allowed to sit in the gallery and watch. So for her to be in that area, basically she shouldn't have been there, according to like the spirits that are there at the time.
Yeah.
So that's why she said she felt uneasy and watched and judged for being in that area, which I thought was quite weird.
It is, because the people, the girls sitting on the side where the women should have been, I guess, felt fine, and that was because it wasn't frowned upon for them to sit and watch the gentlemen play squash.
Yeah. So has that happened since? From the times I've been there, I don't recall it happening since.
Not to that extent.
Yeah.
Not to that extent. So yeah, it's another thing we had there before we move on to another place was spirit board. So spirit board never really works at the Electric Club. It's just one of those places where nothing really happens. Now I don't know if you've heard us mention before, but we tend to have a playful, shall we say, rude spirit follow us around.
Yes.
His name's Jack, and he comes through on the spirit box. He says some quite nasty swear words, which I won't say, and
it's quite abusive towards
very
people.
very abusive. Comes through on the spirit board with swear words and stuff like that. And we were doing the spirit board, and it was really quite active, and we were thinking, this makes a change. And we asked who it was, and it was an 11-year-old girl called Jackie, and none of us clicked. And it was answering all these questions, and then all of a sudden it spelt out wankers, and we thought, oh,
right,
that's not what an 11-year-old girl would say.
Although it could be.
We were in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
But apologies to people in Wolverhampton. But yeah, we were thinking, what's that all about? And then it spelt out obese woman and went to one of the girls in our group.
Yeah.
And then, and we were like, this isn't Jackie, is it? And I think it said something like, ha, or something.
Yeah.
And someone went, is this Jack? And it said, yes. And we thought, oh, right, there we go.
Yeah.
And it got a bit more abusive before we decided to end the session. But, he's come through on the spirit box with a C word and stuff like that. Just not a nice gentleman at all. And
it is one that seems to follow us.
We've had him,
almost.
We've had him at random locations where you just think, what are you doing here?
It's almost like he's just attached to one of the crew. And
he was at my nan and granddad's.
Yes, he was.
So when my granddad died, my nan went quite a while ago. When my granddad died, we went and did an investigation there, and we were doing a board, and he was there, and we asked, "Who are you with? Who'd you come with?" And he kept going to Jen in our group, Jen, and she said, "Like, I don't know who he is. I don't know Jack." She took her finger off the glass in case she was, subconsciously moving it, and it still kept talking about Jen and going over to Jen. So God knows. We don't know who he is.
Picked him up somewhere.
We picked him up somewhere, or maybe he is attached to Jen in some weird way that she doesn't know about. Maybe she's brought him home from an
Maybe it's like an abusive spirit guide. Could you imagine?
Yeah. God, imagine that, getting stuck with a spirit guide that abuses you. You wouldn't really know much about it. Okay, cool. So moving on. Next, shall we talk about?
We'll just go in order.
Is it Whittington?
Whittington Castle.
Or Oswestry Castle?
Oswestry Castle,
in Oswestry.
Yeah. So this was another interesting place because it was the first time we've done somewhere really that was partially outdoors as well, as a group.
As a group, yeah. It was our first outdoor event with the group. It's quite cool, they got some ruins that we walked around for a bit. Yeah,
so we had to walk around, check the place out first, and
we weren't there long. I think it was only like 8 till 12.
Yeah, it wasn't long. It was only,
about 8 of us.
Yeah.
Plus the guide. You have to have someone with you with the keys and to make sure you're not ruining the place and stuff. But yeah, it was good.
That was good. It was interesting, that place.
Yeah. This place was probably one of the first places I picked up on. Quite, I guess, is it empathetic, where you feel emotions that are relating to something that's happened. So we were in this room, and the room, which they now use for weddings, it's quite a nice room, I guess. We didn't know what it used to be used for. And it had all the chairs around the outside.
Yeah, it's quite a long
at the bottom. Quite long, quite narrow.
So you've got an altar one end. There's a few windows. And then there's one window at the end, was it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a church, really.
Yeah.
But it's not. And I was sat at the back, away from the altar, in a chair, and I was rubbing my hands and I was rocking my legs, and I just felt really nervous, really anxious, and I just couldn't shake it, couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was next to me, but they said, just what's the matter? And I said, I don't know, I just feel really, really anxious, really nervous. They said, well, get up, walk around, walk it up.
Yeah.
I said, no. I said, if I get up, whatever I'm anxious about is going to happen. I need to stay where I am. After several minutes or so, it subsided and I felt fine. So I got up, had a walk around, went down to the other end where the altar was, and there was a chair next to the altar. So I sat there looking up at the room, and I felt really powerful. I felt really big. And I was sat next to the tour guide lady that was with us, and I told her, that I feel like really powerful, really important. And she said, well, just look at that person there. And one of our friends, Joe, was kneeling down about 5-6 yards in front of me. And I kind of shouted, what are you doing, Joe? And he said, I don't know, I just feel like I need to kneel.
Yeah.
Which made me think, well, that's interesting, because I feel like you should be kneeling in front of me. And then we found out, after she told us, that place used to be used for the local lord, to do his weekly court, his weekly judgment.
So that's where he'd sit and pass sentence on people?
Yeah, so they'd sit at one end of the room and wait to be called in front of him, so that's when I was really anxious. And then when I went down the other end, it's almost like I took on that role and had this all-powerful feeling, and like I could pass judgment on people. Yeah. And interesting,
and of course, with Joe kneeling in front of you, you felt like he should be there.
He should be kneeling, and then another member of our group in the same room at the same time kept saying, did someone get shot in here? Because I feel like someone's been shot, holding their stomach. And it turned out that someone's appendix had burst out on the street. Not that long, I think it was this century, so not that long ago.
Yeah.
And they'd been brought into the room because it was the nearest place they could take them, and they died because of this burst appendix. But he said it felt like a gunshot wound, which it's close enough in my mind. But he was picking up on the pain in his, in his kind of torso area, and that's what it was. So very interesting to kind of have those two empathetic senses.
And yet completely different things as well. So you getting the empathy...
Different time periods.
From years and years ago when it was used to pass judgment from the local lord. And then the other chap, getting something that only happened in the last 100 years or so.
Yeah.
There's someone there.
And I don't know if any of you guys have ever had this, but when you get a feeling or a thought or a sense, and then you do a bit of research and you find out that actually, you were right without previous knowledge. What a feeling that is! It makes you feel great. I can only imagine that's what mediums feel like when they tell someone something.
When they tell, and they go, oh yeah,
spot on. But Ben probably had one of the most interesting things that night.
Yeah.
With that, I don't know what it was.
Not a clue what it was. So the area where you were just on about was in sort of one half of the castle, and once we're done there, we went to the other half of the castle, and that's sort of a bit more. They've set it up to teach people a bit about the history of the area and that sort of thing. Like a museum, wasn't it? Yeah, kind of. And we went up to the top of the one area where we could get up to, along the corridor, and we went into a room at the back, and that's where they keep a lot of props and that sort of thing, because they have a few events there and sort of do with medieval stuff and that sort of thing. So we were in there for a bit and nothing really happened in that room. We came back out and back down the corridor, and we sort of sat and stood around the landing area a little bit, and we got this thermal imaging camera. So we decided to put that on and just point it down the hallway, and we could see, obviously with a thermal imaging camera, the warmer something is, the more red or orange it becomes, and it was all blue, and then at the very end you could see a shape sort of a couple of feet off the floor, not off the floor but only a couple of feet high from the floor, and we couldn't figure out what it was. So we were trying to shine a torch down there and see if we could see anything that was making a shape and that sort of thing. And the only thing that was at the other end, I think, was a table. Was there a table at the end of that room, or was it just a poster or something on the wall?
Might be. I think it was wasn't it a table or a chair up against the wall?
There was a chair up against the one wall on the left hand side, but this shape was on the right by where we'd gone into that room.
Yeah.
So we couldn't figure out what it was, so I was like, oh okay, I'm just going to walk up there and have a look. So I walked up there, and obviously on the imaging camera I'm coming up quite bright, and I'm stood next to this, whatever it is, this shape, and when I put my hand down to where it was freezing cold. Like my hand was cold, and even on the imaging camera you could tell that the colour from my arm and my hand changed colour. It went colder.
Yeah, so it goes more like green.
More like a green and then into a blue if it's really cold. And then when I moved my hand again, it would warm up. So there was this area of cold air. But when I moved, if I stood where it was, it didn't move.
Yeah.
But then if I moved back again, it would just stay. And it was almost as if there was almost like a dog.
Yeah, just that's how we described it, wasn't it? Because the height, it was like a dog.
Yeah. It would almost be like a dog just sat there.
Just on its haunches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just really weird because I could feel the coldness from it, and there was no drafts in that room or anything. Even though it was in a castle, it was fairly modernised.
Yeah, they got plasterboard on the wall.
Yeah,
you couldn't see the brickwork of a castle. They got plasterboards on the wall, with glass cabinets with artifacts in and prop costumes for children to dress up in and everything. So it was I think they even had the heating on.
I was going to say there was radiators in there and everything, so it wasn't exactly a cold place.
Bizarre. Sorry about that.
That was an interesting thing. We just had one of Kieran's friends come and drop off a Christmas card.
Yeah.
But we were pretty much done talking about the shape.
Yeah, and if we had
the castle.
if we left, can't remember where we were. If we left it unfinished and you want to know more, just ask.
Just let us know,
and we'll give you all the details.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next one.
Okay. Which one should we do?
Go for the next one down.
Okay. So another place in Wolverhampton's Graiseley Old Hall, and not a lot happened here for me. It got a bit creepy. I mean, it was an old kind of.
It's almost like a really, really old bed and breakfast.
Yeah, mixed with an estate. It's like a stately home. They turned into a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
They got a room upstairs that was where the children used to be. So they got a rocking horse in the room and stuff like that. The kitchen was huge, big tiled kitchen that you'd expect.
But the bedrooms were really quite old fashioned. Even the beds and everything were really
I'd imagine they were the original beds. Which would play into what I experienced there.
Yeah.
So we were in this room. There were 3 single beds. So this is more of the empathetic type feeling again. So we're in this room. There were 3 single beds. This room was red, and when I say red, it was red.
It was red.
Red walls, red bed covers,
red carpet,
red. and there was a door with one of those old latches on, wooden door with a latch on. So anyway, we're in there, there's about 5 or 6 of us, it's quite cramped because you've got the 3 beds, and there was a vanity table with a stool, and I was sat on the stool, and everyone else was, perched on the beds or whatever, and this one guest kept walking up and down, and I said, take a load off, have a seat, and he said, no, I can't sit down. And I said, just sit on the bed, and he said, no, I can't sit on the bed. So I asked him, we'll swap with me, and I'll sit on the bed, you sit on the stool. And he did, so he said, I'll sit on the stool. Within 5 seconds or so of sitting on the bed, I was crying.
Yeah.
I felt hopeless, I felt helpless. I remember saying to someone, if you were to give me a gun now, I would end it all, because there's no hope. I don't know what it is, but I just feel hopeless. At the same time, Anne, a member of the crew, you just hear this click, and she's unlocked the door and opened the door, and someone said, what are you doing? And she said, I can't, the door has to be open, can't have the door locked, it needs to be open.
Yeah.
We then found out later that there were children sexually abused in this room, and when I found that out, it was quite shocking really, because it would have happened on the bed that I sat on when I picked up this feeling, and would have been picking up on that sense of not wanting to be in a locked room, because when the room was locked things would happen.
Yeah.
So she wanted an escape route, I guess. And it's strange because when this is happening, just like with the feeling lordly and nervous, you don't know why, and I think that's a medium would be able to tell you why. I feel like it's because of this. When it happens to us, we don't know why. We just feel it, and it's only when you do research later that you find out. Oh, that's what I was feeling. Yeah. And that's what makes me think that we all have this kind of ability that mediums have. We're just not trained in it.
We're just not all open to it as well.
So that was the best thing really for me there. Not much else. I know you didn't get much.
I didn't get anything there. There was not much that went on there that I can really pick up on.
No. I vaguely remember a spirit board, and it was like a girl who said she went to school there. But it was never a school, it was a place where a school used to store their admin stuff.
Yes, yeah. She
said she was in a fire, and there was a fire, there, but the school thing didn't make sense.
No. We even tried the spirit box, didn't we?
Yeah.
But even that didn't really pick up on much.
I mean, for those that have done the spirit box or are used to it, it's very hit and miss. Sometimes you can get a lot, sometimes you get absolutely nothing. Yeah. And even when you are getting something, it lends itself massively to pareidolia, where you can hear patterns or words that aren't actually there. And an example of that is, I think we were at the Electric Club, and we were all sat around, 7 or 8 of us, and we asked how many spirits were with us, and a word was said on the box, and several people told us what they thought they heard, and we had stuff like 6, 8, 11.
Yeah.
And if I say to you 6 and 8, they don't sound like the same word. It's very clearly 6 and 8. But these people were adamant that they'd heard 6, they'd heard 8, they'd heard 11. So it's this pareidolia, and it's people hearing not what they want to hear, but well, I guess it is. That they think, oh, I've heard that, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the same with EVP recordings. If someone puts a subtitle for what the recording says, you will hear that all day long. If you cover the subtitles first and try and guess what they're saying, I guarantee you won't say what the subtitles say.
Classic example, more recently, was a big thing on the internet. Laurel and Yanni.
Oh yeah, with the lips moving, was it?
Yeah, and if someone put on the screen what it was, you'd hear that way, and then if they put the other thing, you'd hear it the other way.
Yeah.
So that's
classic example, and it shows how you can be manipulated. So if you're watching a piece of evidence that someone's trying to show you, if it looks like they're going to tell you what you're about to hear, or they're going to show you what you're about to hear, make sure you stop them and say, look, I want to hear this for myself, and I want to see if I hear what you hear. There's no harm in hearing something different, because that doesn't mean that there's not anything there. It might mean that in fact you're right. You're hearing something. If anyone watches American Horror Story, I know we have, in the intro of the American Horror Story, you have that weird, sounds like, I always think they say black skip. Other people think they say you're scared. Yeah. And again, it's another example, and I think the director came out and said, no, it's just a noise.
It was nothing.
It's not actually anything, and there's just been this huge debate about what's actually said, so just another example of that. So always be careful with what you're hearing, and the effects of pareidolia, and the ability to see or hear patterns where there isn't really anything substantial.
Yeah.
So that's Graiseley Old Hall. The pub, so we've spoke a lot about the pub, the local pub, on our podcast interviews and in our intros and outros. But that's because it's a fascinating place. Investigations there are ongoing. We'll be doing more in the new year. And if anyone's local to us, then let us know. Should you want to come and spend the night with us in the pub?
In the pub. Probably sounds better than what it is, but
yeah. You know, we normally get kicked off about 12:30, 1 o'clock when everyone's gone.
Yeah.
And we linger till about 4. So it's not a massive investigation, but it's not a massive pub. So we always tend to get just enough time to do what we want.
And I think the most fascinating thing about this place is because it's so new to being investigated, how active it is quite shocking.
Yeah.
Because normally places have to be investigated quite a bit for the activity to sort of rise and get something out of it. But this place just seemed to kick off pretty much straight away, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before. We've said about, you know, if you go somewhere and it's never been done, you might not get a lot of activity because the spirits are looking at you like, what do you want? What do I do? If you go somewhere that's been done too much, then it's possible that spirits are bored, they've had enough, they're, you know, re-energising. And if you go somewhere that's in between, you tend to get quite a fair bit of activity. This place had never been done, but it was active right from the get-go. Yeah. And it's getting more and more active the more and more we go, as if they're getting used to us. But again, just like with where was it? The Electric Club. Yeah. Every time we go, it's completely different activity.
Yeah. Never there's so much different stuff.
Never the same. So the first time we went, they've got a cellar, very odd-shaped cellar, really noisy because of the ice machine motor and the aircon units, and they can't turn them off.
Because otherwise all the beer will go warm.
Yeah, and that's not very nice. It's dark, which is good, but it's noisy. So you need to allow yourself some time just to kind of what's the word? Acclimatise.
Well, you got to adjust to it. You got to accept what the noises are down there already before you start hearing other stuff going on.
And eventually that noise just becomes, you know, if you live near a busy road.
You know exactly what it is,
you don't even notice that there's cars there, and it's like that. And then once you've kind of acclimatised to it, you begin to hear things that you wouldn't have before. Yeah. So we were down there, and I was walking along the little bit of a corridor they've got, and someone shouted, "Kieran, come here." So I've quite authoritatively. So I've kind of turned around thinking someone needs me, and I've asked, you know, what? And the lady that was directly behind me went, "No, I heard that as well." And there was no one else there, and it was very disturbing. I've had my name called since then as well, but I didn't know at the time, but one of the common claims by staff members is getting their names called, hearing the names called when there's no one in the pub, when they're opening or closing. So that was quite interesting to happen. We had whistling down there, quite loud whistling, very prominent whistling, in response to our whistles. So we were whistling, just like we spoke about last time at Jericho Tunnels, and we had whistling back. Again, very, very interesting. One of the most interesting things we had down there was the barrel. Yes. The moving barrel. Yeah. So we were down there, and one area is where they have all the full barrels that are on the taps, and we kept hearing what sounded like the barrel being knocked or moved. Now again, if anyone's ever tried to move a full barrel...
it's not the easiest.
No, it's not the easiest thing to do. So we heard this barrel moving, and we managed to kind of, you know, pick it out of 2 or 3. It was one of these barrels that was moving. So I put my torch on, and we were rocking them to see if they was on an uneven floor, to see if, you know, a car going over us would make them move, but nothing like that. They were really steady, didn't make a noise, and it happened again and again. So I said, right, I'm just going to take a photo of this barrel, and I took a photo of the barrel, and as the flash on the camera lit up the cellar, perfect timing, the barrel moved on its own. About 4 or 5 of us watched the barrel rock like that, and we all just stood there like, did you just see that? Yeah, we just saw that. And we tried to recreate it. We tried, you know, stamping around, moving the barrel again. Is it a car over us? Nothing like that.
I mean, you say car over you, but where the cellar is goes towards the car park at the back. And bear in mind, this is like what, 1:30, 2 o'clock maybe in the morning.
There's no cars there.
So there's no cars there, but it's something that you've got to allow for, just in case.
Yeah, you have to think about it. But it's very, very interesting. We had orbs in the toilet. Yeah. In the ladies' toilet seems to be quite active, which is surprising because it's like 70s. 1970s.
Yeah, it's not
and that's
that
the
old.
great thing about this pub. The one corner of the pub goes back to Tudor times.
Yes.
And then as you move through the pub, it just gets more modern and more modern to the extension on the back, which is 1970s. So you can imagine the spirits that we have there. We've had on a spirit board what sounded like a lady, what she came across as a lady, said that she was a farmer, she farmed sheep. We did some research and found that the pub itself wasn't the farm, but about 100 yards or so behind the pub, a couple of 100 years ago, was a farm, and it was a sheep farm, which is exactly what we had on the board. So it's a very interesting place.
I think the first time we went there as well, there was a lot of activity on the spirit board in the old end of the pub, where I think was it one of the ladies' late husbands?
Oh yeah, Pam. Yeah.
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 Her husband
Bob
had come through on the board.
Yeah. And wouldn't leave her.
Yeah. And we eventually had to say, look, we're going to have to go and move on now, because just kept going and going and going.
Didn't she? She left the group, so she went and sat somewhere else.
Yeah.
She said, because otherwise, apparently she's been to mediums and she's done this before, and he's always there.
Yeah.
He's always coming through, wants to talk to her, doesn't give anybody else a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'm going to have to go and sit in the other room because you're not going to get anyone other than Bob.
Yeah.
And she did move away, and so did Bob,
yeah.
clearly. And you managed to talk to some other people.
Mm-hmm.
And if she hadn't have done that, she thinks that we'd have just been talking to Bob all night.
All night, yeah.
When we did Human Pendulum, I'm not a big believer in the Human Pendulum, but people were asking certain questions and it came across like Bob again.
Yeah.
And we were asking him, just back off, Bob. But he wouldn't. He was very insistent. And interestingly, we did a pendulum there, and I don't know if any of you ever done this, or if you've read my book, you'll know how it works. But we have a volunteer, we have a person in front and a person behind. We relax them, and we ask for the spirit to use them as a pendulum to move them to yes or no.
So like in reverse pendulum, so your feet are fixed to the floor and the
you're
top
rocking.
of you is moving.
That's it. And we did that, and we asked this woman, is there anyone here? And this woman wasn't moving, she wasn't doing anything. And I was just about to wind it down when I noticed that the woman that was stood in front of her to stop her from falling over, she was answering the questions. And I was thinking, that's never happened before, it's normally the person
in the middle.
The pendulum should be moving, not a volunteer that's volunteered to help. So she'd had her hands out like that to stop the original lady from falling, but she'd kind of turned into this, hands like this, hunched. She'd shrunk by about a foot. She was very hunched. She looked very uncomfortable. And I was like, that's not right. So we started asking her questions, and she really started answering them. And I asked one of the people that worked there to ask questions because they know more about the history, and they believe they were talking to a lady called Sandra who used to be a landlady in the pub who's now dead. And interestingly, some of the women there that work there now used to work with Sandra, so they were asking questions that were very personal to Sandra. That the lady who was reacting, who was stood like this, she didn't know Sandra. She was a young lady, and she was answering the questions absolutely perfectly, which is interesting. Always interesting when that happens. But yeah, I've never had it where I'm about to stop the experiment because it's just not working,
and it's someone else.
And it's only because I turned like this and I thought, she's answering the questions.
What are you doing?
Yeah, very, very bizarre.
She'd obviously let herself get into that relaxed state, and
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think she just opened herself up. She's been a couple of times, and she has had these kind of reactions. Interestingly, she was the one that was stood behind the barrel when the barrel was moving. So she obviously has this kind of, she attracts the spirit's attention basically. Yeah. So yeah, we will be going back there, so we'll have more stories to tell in the future. And again, if you do live local, just let me know, let us know, and you can come and spend a couple of hours with us investigating. It is warm, except for the cellar, which is freezing.
Yeah.
So finally, just looking at the time,
we've got about 13 minutes left.
Okay.
So we can do the last one and then we'll wrap up.
Yep. So do you want to start with this?
So this one is an outdoor one. It was actually one of the first places me and you went.
The first.
Yes, it was. It was the first place that me and you went before we really got into this sort of thing. Just as a bit of a see what happens sort of thing.
We grabbed the camera, didn't we?
Yeah. So it's a cemetery that is in Clent, which is a nice hilly wooded area near where we are, and we went there because we knew that the cemetery was accessible at night. It wasn't locked off behind gates or anything like that. It's got a public footpath just walking through it, so we could just get in there. We knew that. So we went up there. There was myself, there was you, and Joe was there, which was the first time.
Yep.
And we didn't really know what we were doing, let's face it.
No.
So we were walking around and we were, you know...
We got a spirit box, haven't we?
Yeah, we got a spirit box and a camera, and that was it.
That was it, yeah.
And a torch.
A torch, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I think was on our phone. I don't even think we had a torch.
And it was interesting because we actually got a really good EVP.
One of the best to date.
Yeah. And yet we didn't have a clue what we were doing.
Yeah, since we've actually been doing this, and desperately trying to get EVPs, we've not really had anything as good as what we got there.
Yeah, so we were stood around one of the big graves that was there, I think it was. And you were asking some questions, and you were saying, come on, can you move something? Can you move a branch or a twig or something like that? And just after you asked that question, we had an EVP come through on the spirit box just saying, what was it? I can't?
It said I can't.
It said I can't. And we all heard it, all three of us. We were like, that said I can't.
That answered us.
Yeah. And
so we asked again, didn't we?
So you asked again. And it said again, didn't it?
Yeah. And then it said, clear as day, I won't move anything.
No, was it I won't move anything or I won't do that?
Or it could have been I won't do that.
It was one of those two, but it was clear as anything.
Yeah.
It was definitely something
just answering
I
our
can't
question.
do that, or I won't do that, or...
And we just all looked at each other like,
okay, we might be onto something here.
Yeah. Annoyingly, we can't find that EVP.
No.
It was on our emails, and...
Yeah, it's no longer in existence for some reason.
It really...
And the only other thing we got that night was I took 2 photos pointing towards where the church was. Because the church there, it's only small, isn't it? It's like a little chapel, really.
Yeah, it's not the biggest church.
It's not the biggest church. But then again, the graveyard's not that big, really.
No, when you think about a countryside church, it's just like that.
Probably average, average sort of size. And I took 2 photos in quick succession. They were down like the side of the church, so you could see half the church, the pathway down the side, and then some of the grave. So I took 1 photo, and then I took the second photo pretty much straight away. And on the first photo, you could see the church, you could see the path, you could see the graves, everything clear as day, or even though it was night. But on the second photo, there was like a mist that had come across the whole photo.
Yeah.
You could see the church just about behind this mist, but you couldn't really make out anything else.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because...
We tried to recreate it with breath.
We tried to recreate it with breath and we couldn't. Because it was a cold night.
It was a
winter night, so we left it till then because it was darker earlier and didn't have to be out so late, but we could not recreate this photo with our breath or anything like that.
None of us smoked.
That was all we had. Yeah, none of us smoked, so it couldn't have been any smoke from anything.
Don't know what it was. There was no fog in the air. I mean, we are quite high up because, like I say, we're in Clent, so it was quite hilly. But there was no fog or mist or anything.
Yeah, and this was on sort of like a digital SLR camera, so the photos were taken in like 2 quick successions, like 1 second after each other.
Yeah.
So even then it was really weird.
I went there a couple of weeks ago now with another investigator, Ryan, and it was just the 2 of us, and it was Friday night. We thought, what the hell, we'll just go and have a look. So we went up to this churchyard again. Now the second you walked in, if any of you have ever done ghost hunts or anything, you might have had it where you walk into a location and you just think, oh no, shouldn't be here, don't feel like I should be here, something doesn't want us here. That's how it felt straight away. And I'd been there before, I knew it was perfectly safe, I knew we were allowed there was no trouble, no police were going to be called or anything like that. It just didn't feel very nice. We were walking around, just usual stuff. The first thing I did was go straight to the place where we caught that EVP previously, because I thought, oh, I want to go back there. Didn't get anything. What we got was a huge sense of uneasiness. Now, there's a shed that's since been erected since we were there, and it's a shed with a light sensor, so you walk past it. And I think the gardener or the groundsman must keep his tools in this shed. And it scared the hell out of us when we first walked past the shed, because the light kicked on and we were like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. After about a minute or so it goes off, if you're not in its range. So we carried on, did our thing, and we moved over to a big tree. So we stood underneath the tree, doing some recording. And all of a sudden, I've looked over Ryan's shoulder, and the light comes on, and there's nothing there. So I think, oh, fox, badger, cat,
anything like that.
And lions, apparently in Clent. And so straight away, I'm looking around. You know, is it a badger? Is it a fox? Is anything run away? And there wasn't. And thinking about it, we didn't see any animals while we were up there. You know, we did a graveyard the week before, and we could hear foxes fighting. We could see them. We didn't hear or see any animals there. And it could have been a fox.
I mean, I suppose you got to think as well, the time of year it is, these animals are starting to sort of go into hibernation as well.
Very true. Yeah, it was cold. I mean, while we were there last week or whenever it was snowing. It was actually snowing while we were there. It was, I think it was like 2 degrees, 1 degree, it was freezing. And it could have been a fox. And if you,
it could have been, yeah.
If you follow the law of probability,
yeah,
it was a fox. But we couldn't see anything. And what we did is we waited for the light to go off, and Ryan, being the more flexible of us, got down on his haunches and tried to see how close he could get to the light before it came on. And it did come on, but he was probably crouched down about twice as high as what a fox would be. So shy of him crawling in the mud on his belly, we couldn't really recreate him being a fox, because we just weren't sure how powerful the sensors were. So it was interesting anyway that happened. But 2 other things happened. 3 other things happened. So as we were leaving, Ryan had the headphones around his neck, which he was using for the EVP recorder, and we both visibly saw them begin to swing. So the first thing we did was we heard them the plastic hitting each other, and we were like, what the hell's that? And then we looked down, and his headphones were moving around his neck. It wasn't windy, he wasn't moving, he was just stood still. There was no breeze strong enough to be blowing headphones around. And Ryan, freaked out a little bit. He was like, what's going on there? After 10 seconds, they just literally stopped, dead still. The other thing that happened was, as we were leaving, I saw a shadowy figure, 6.5 feet tall, run right in front of the gate that we were about to walk through. So we were walking up a path to get back out onto the road, and a figure right in front of the gate. I think Ryan was preoccupied with his headphones at the time, because it was the headphones. 30 seconds later, shadowy figure, and Ryan, I think, was still trying to mess with his headphones, and I kind of went whoa as this thing ran right past. Probably the most clearest shadow I've ever seen. I was certainly shook up for a little bit.
Yeah.
But the best thing we got there was the photo, and I've posted this on our group page on Facebook, so hopefully you guys have seen it. If you haven't, it's on the group page. If you're not on the group, why not? And if you can't get on the group, or you don't want to be on the group, let me know and I can send you this picture. So I took a picture of a grave, and it's the same area where we got the mist before. And just to the right of the grave looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a figure. It looks like a shadowy figure. And as I was scrolling through the photos, I got back, 11 o'clock, I was looking through the photos, and I saw this figure, and I was like, whoa, what is that? And I zoomed in, and I took a screenshot of the zoom in, and then I started playing with the colours and the saturation and the contrast, and there was something there, because it was picking it up when I was playing with these colours. And some people have said it looks like a monk with a habit on. Some people say it looks like a lady with a shawl or with long hair. But I really don't know.
When you showed me, the first thing I thought was it looks like there's somebody grieving over a grave.
But it's literally right next to the grave.
Yeah.
It's almost like something is either fleeing, coming to, or watching over the grave. It's if you, like I say, if you can get onto the group.
I was going to say, if you get it on Facebook, then take a look, because it's interesting.
But it's what really is good about this is the second time I've been there. Ben's been there as well, and we've had that really clear as day EVP, and we've had that fantastic photo plus the photo of the mist.
Yeah.
And you just think, if we can go there again and again, what more can we get there? Because it's, in fact, just thinking about it now has made the hair stand up.
Yeah.
It's a very creepy place, but great at the same time. So we're gonna wait till it gets a bit warmer, probably spring. And we're going to head back and spend a bit longer there. Yeah. We ended up leaving because, like I say, it was 1 degree, it was snowing, and I'll hold my hands up, it got a little bit creepy when we started seeing the shadows and the headphones were moving and stuff like that. So we just got the hell out of there and into the warm car. So yeah, that wraps it up, I think,
right,
doesn't
we've
it?
got like 3 minutes left on the recording, so we'll wrap it up here. If anyone wants to contact us, then we've got the Facebook page. You can always leave a comment on YouTube. We've got the email. All the links are in the description for this video, and will be in the description for the podcast, because obviously there'll be an audio podcast that goes with this as well.
Yep, so if you're listening to this on Podbean or whatever you're listening on, there is a video for this, and you can watch it on YouTube. If you want to watch us sat in my living room, being disturbed by Christmas cards and me drinking Advocaat with a frog calling in the background. It's quite an eventful podcast, really.
Yes.
So, yeah, as Ben said, if you want to get in touch with us, please do. Paranormal. Can't remember the email address.
Paranormal podcast@gmail.com.
That's it. It's a tongue twister. It's a tongue twister. Paranormal Paradigm podcast@gmail.com. Or the Facebook group, or the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Whichever you prefer.
We've got New Year coming up and Christmas, so we're going to probably have a break. It's going to be probably a longer gap between shows. Yeah. So we're not doing anything on purpose. It's just Christmas and New Year, and we're spending time with family and friends. Yeah, I'm sure we'll put an update on like the Facebook page or anything when we're back. Yeah, We've got another guest lined up for a podcast and that sort of thing, which we will have. So I mean, what is it? Thursday, 2nd. So Thursday, 2nd, Friday the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So the 6th of January will be a Monday. So we'll look at getting something uploaded on the 13th of January. Yeah. If that's okay with you guys. Again, if you've got any suggestions for guests or anything, let us know. We've got some lined up for the new year, which we're looking forward to. Yeah. And we hope you enjoy it as always. So we'll leave it there. Yeah, so thank you for watching or listening, whichever your preferred method is. We all hope you have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yep. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.